more fun, obviously, to do it in person. Especially
Yes.
you know, the two of you. So,
Yeah.
so I, poor Sam.
We're live.
So anyway, we're thrilled to be here today with Sherry and Libby. Sherry's book, The 3 Shots to the Wind, which is, I think, somewhat perfectly titled for the 3rd book in your Chloe Jackson Sea Glass Saloon Mystery, was released today. And Libby's book, Antique Auctions Are Murder, it's the 7th book in your Poppy McAllister Mystery series, which is just amazing, and that came out in February. Sherry has a very impressive biography. So just to embarrass her, I will read it. She is a 2-time Agatha Award-nominated author of the Sarah Winston Garage Sale Mystery Series and the Chloe Jackson Sea Glass Saloon Mysteries, past president of the Sisters in Crime, and a member of the Chesapeake chapter of Sisters in Crime, the New England chapter of Sisters in Crime, Mystery Writers of America, and international thriller writers in her, and I put these quotes in, not her, spare time. She loves to read and is a patent-holding inventor. She and her husband live with their guard dog Lily in Northern Virginia until they decide where they want to move next. So we really hope if you move, you do not move far.
Oh, thank you.
So. Libby graduated from Lower Cape May Regional High School sometime in the 1980s, and that's where your books are based, correct?
Yes.
May? Which...
They're based in the years 2000, but yes.
Okay, May's one of my favorite places, so I love reading about it. Her classes resolved about the culinary sciences and theater with the occasional nap in chemistry, which I think I would have enjoyed chemistry a lot more if I would have napped. She has worked as a stay-at-home mom, climbing the ladder to the ranks to the coveted position of grandma. She also dabbles in the position of vice president of a technology company, which mainly involves bossing other people around, making spreadsheets, and taking out the trash. I can relate to at least 2 of those: taking out the trash and, making spreadsheets. She is also a member of the Mystery Writers of America and Sisters in Crime. And please join me in welcoming Sherry and Libby.
Thanks for having us.
Very exciting. I don't think we know what to do with ourselves.
We don't.
There's so many people sitting here. You feel like you're in the grocery store on Super Bowl Sunday. Very exciting.
It is like cold again. I'm just staying home.
We saw snow flurries. I think it went from 74 to snow flurries in 12 hours. So it's very surreal.
It's gonna be 70 on Thursday.
That's what they say. 70 on Thursday.
Crazy. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about antique auctions or murder? Because I love a good auction. And so, how did you come up with the idea to use auctions?
I think my idea started more from the central concept of Cape May. Throughout all of my books, I've thought of Cape May as a character in the series and what is going on in Cape May. So I have books that take place at the convention center on the beach. I have books that take place in Congress Hall, which is a National Historic Landmark. And Antique Auctions takes place at Cold Spring Village, which is like a tiny, tiny, tiny little Williamsburg kind of thing. Except it's Victorian life. I think Williamsburg is like, I don't know, I think it's like Revolutionary War then. Something like that.
Sure. Yes.
I may have that for history as well. But Cold Spring Village is a real place, and they have Antique Week. They have antique shows where people.
When is that?
I mean, it's sometime in the summer. It's lovely. They set up tents and people sell. They bring their antiques. Antique dealers come with furniture, and I've attended the Cold Spring Village Antique Week. So it's a real place with a real event and a real auction house that I'm pretty sure I put in this guy's yard who I actually know, because it really isn't next door like it is in the book. I think I know who lives there, and I've made his house the antique house. So we have an antique auction where, of course, with Poppy being there, something horrible is going to happen. So it's fun to use for me. All the places in my books are real places. I've had to be very judicious before I kill people because they're real places, but there's a lot of nostalgia that you can find in my books. If you've been to Cape May, you can go to Cold Spring Village to the antique show, and you can see right where I placed a grisly crime.
So you wrote a very funny blog post about an actual auction event.
Yes.
Can you tell people about that? Because it cracked me up.
Well, I mean, I am not great at auctions. I've been to live auctions, and I've bought some of the worst crap I'm just in love with at the moment. I bought this big armoire that I had to have. I know nothing about antiques. It could have had Walmart stamp on the back. I was like just throwing money. I've got to have this in my house. It was in bad condition. It was chipped. It turned out it was a veneer, which is right there not good, right? If you're a collector, that's not what you're going for, I guess.
It depends.
Okay.
Veneer can be okay.
Well, you'll have to come with me next time because I didn't know that. And it didn't fit in the bedroom. We couldn't hardly get it up the stairs. And it became the worst eyesore that was just in the way. It was shaped in such a way that nothing fit. You either had all this empty space or you had stuff crammed in there. At one point, just to get rid of it, we shoved it in the closet. And our armoire is a closet. We don't have a closet, we shoved it in the closet. Just so we could walk around the room. That was one of my terrible purchases. And another one was an oil lamp. A beautiful little oil lamp, because clearly I live in a farmhouse in the 1800s where one would need an oil lamp. And had a bunch of toddlers running around, so having something literally on fire at this level is a good idea. And I fall in love with things without thinking about how practical they are. I don't know anything about the worth. Although I do remember the one class I remember in business class was that something is worth whatever you're willing to pay for it. That I remember. I didn't remember the greater lesson behind it. But I remembered that. $500? Yeah. There's $500. So I'm not good. And you get very caught up in the excitement of auctions. You know, people start being against you and you're like, oh, heck no. I'm invested now.
I am going to win.
It's in my heart now. I've already seen it in my mind, sitting on the table. I'm going to win. And eBay auctions for another. I've been very, until the day that you realize, who's bidding against you? The guy's selling it. He's got another account. What are you, stupid? It's worth $5 or $28 in. Let him win it now. And within like 12 hours of him winning it, it's magically relisted. So I've not made great choices in either arena, and I'm really, especially online, I don't have any concept for spatial reality. I once built a DeLorean in my garage out of cardboard because it was in a play, and the play was, Back to the Future, and I did a really good job on this DeLorean. But things that go in a DeLorean that I wanted to be in my cardboard car, I bought them for like a Matchbox car, and then I'm like, it shows up, and I'm like, it just happens all the time. I make fun of Aunt Jenny at antique auctions where she got an antique tray table that was a great steal. It was also for a dollhouse. On the computer, I thought it was a real thing. And it turns out it's like this. And my family makes fun of me because I'm really bad at it all the time. So I need help. I need you to come with me. I should have read more of the garage sale mysteries that you wrote because you are really good at it. You're good at knowing the value of things.
I don't know about that. I buy things just because I like them mostly, and not because of their value. So, like, I bought a old wooden dumbbell just because I liked the wood and how it felt, and I paid $3 for it. So
I got a Spurtle.
Oh, a Spurtle.
Yeah, Spurtle.
What?
You're like right now. You're what the heck is a Spurtle? I didn't know either, but I had to have it. It's like a tiny little dowel for going up the stairs. Apparently, it has to do with Scottish making porridge. I guess they poke at the porridge while they make it. It's not a spoon. It's not a fork. It's kind of like a stick. What are the things
Have
called?
you made any porridge to poke?
Not once. Not once. But bless God, I have a Spurtle. I was like, Spurtle. That's something something I don't have yet. How much is this?
See, I know. One of my favorite, I haven't gone to a ton of auctions, but I've gone to a few, and I've gone to a lot of outside ones.
Mhm.
And you know how the really professional auction people just nod or wink or, you know, they
Yeah.
raise their eyebrow or whatever. And a fly was buzzing me, and I'm going 50, remember what I'm going, no, 100. I was really against myself at that point.
At some point, I think Aunt Ginny and the Biddies were doing the exact same thing, and you were living it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm surprised that you didn't write. Did you write an auction book?
I have not.
Well, there's still time.
Although in the original proposal, the third book was going to be an auction, and an auctioneer got murdered.
Uh-huh.
But by the time we got to that third book, I had a better idea, I guess, and ended up completely different. I think that's the one with the stalker in it.
It's a little stalker. That's always Although I think I put the stalker inside the armoire. So I would have like found a way. But how did you go from garage sales to your beach bar series?
My editor at Kensington and I have been tossing ideas back and forth for another series, and we couldn't hit on anything we both liked. And one day he said, how about a beach bar in Key West? And I was like, wow, I'm going to Key West in 4 days for the first time.
Wow. Did he know that?
No, it was just
Because I'd be like, hold on, I'm booking a trip to Key West.
he didn't know that. But Lucy Burdett, who's a friend, writes an amazing series set in Key West, and she knows it. And I was going to be there for 4 days. And I was just like, I wrote him and I said, you know, I'm not really comfortable talking about Key West, but my parents live in the panhandle of Florida, and we lived there for 3 years, and they call it Lower Alabama. They call it LA. And then you're like, huh? Lower Alabama. And they call it the Redneck Riviera.
I've been there. That would make sense. That one makes a lot of sense.
They're really trying to shed that image and calling it the Emerald Coast now instead. In fact, they canceled the Mullet Festival, which was not about hair, it was about fish. And but that's gone.
Although they could have still held it with the hair. I have been there.
I think they might have done both, actually. You know, why not take advantage?
The scariest place that I have ever been on this planet was the Piggly Wiggly in Bonifay, Florida.
Bonifay, where's that?
It's in the Panhandle.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
It must be in the interior.
Is that the more redneck area?
Well.
Then I'm gonna say yes. Yes, it was very interesting. I mean, it's fascinating. I can just, that's what I picture. I picture that whole area when I think about your series and your beach bar. And I mean, I hear the beach is lovely.
It is. It's so pretty.
People love, is it Destin?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, and that's the Emerald Beach, right? The water is emerald?
The Emerald Coast, it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more aquamarine. I don't know why they didn't call it the aquamarine coast.
Maybe it's too long.
Too long. Emerald Coast works. But the water is stunningly beautiful. And I loved it as a setting because it, probably like Cape May, it has that whole tourist versus locals, the developers that come in and want to, you know, get all the beach property. And so it had a lot of stuff to use as plots.
Well, in a tourist area, it gives you the ability to bring in people from outside to kill them.
Right. Right. Because if you kill all the locals, it looks bad.
I mean, once the locals are all dying, they start to look at you. And it's not long before the end of your series is they ran you out of town with pitchforks.
Right.
Right? I actually planted a joke in one of my, I think it's in the book that's not out yet, that Aunt Jenny is listening to the radio and murder is up 800% in the last year.
So how long have they been in Cape May now? Because in the first book, she just moves there.
In the first book, we're in Cape May from, I want to say, chapter 3. Because we start in Virginia, where Poppy lives. put her in Waterford. Libby don't live in Waterford, but I put Poppy in Waterford. And she goes to Cape May to her high school reunion.
Right.
Because she wants to help her best friend face off against the high school bullies who tormented them. And at the 25th high school reunion, one of the bullies ends up dead in front of Poppy's locker, and the other bully, high school cheerleader, arrests her for the murder. So she ends up stuck in Cape May, which she calls beach hell, because all of her memories, being a plus-size redhead in a beach town, are not great. It's not a great lifestyle for the plus-size gal, okay? Especially when the last 2 months of school, most everybody can come to school wearing little skinny board shorts and little tank tops, and it's perfectly acceptable, attire for living in a beach town. And that doesn't work for the plus size gal. I'm here to tell you, in case you think I had to research that heavily, I did not. So she gets stuck there, and by the end of class reunions or murder, there is something fishy going on with Aunt Ginny, who might be certifiably insane, and the shisty developer is trying to take over all of Victorian houses, and he's working with social services to put Aunt Ginny in a home to get her house.
I remember that.
So Poppy ends up staying and turning Aunt Ginny's house into a bed and breakfast. And thus begins, from book 2 onward, Poppy has a bed and breakfast.
Right.
And she's had quite a learning curve because it's not easy running a bed and breakfast. And tourists be crazy, y'all. I did grow up there, and I have talked to other people who have bed and breakfasts, like right now. I did not give them any credit at the end of the book because they wanted to remain nameless. But a lot of the crazy stuff, I didn't make it up. These things happen. So it's definitely fun. Antique auctions is the height of the summer. It is. She's been running the bed and breakfast. It's not going well. She's struggling along. Things keep happening where, she'll have these people stay in the house to help out an investigation, or she'll work with the cops on this. With antique auctions, it is 100% full-on summer, crush of people. So it is definitely my ode to summer book.
Oh,
Now,
fun.
do you have a book that has like the high tourist season versus low tourist season?
Yeah, I started, the first one, From Here to Eternity, is in the end of June, which is really the height of tourist season. And then I did a fall, this one's the winter, and then the one that comes out next year is the spring break. Kind of right after spring
That's
break.
gonna be your crazy one.
Yeah, so it was really fun. And we were just down there, and the day before we left, there was this, mob of young people down on the beach, and they had a big Michigan sign. And they were having a great time, and it looked like they were just having a ball, but I'm like, we're leaving just in the nick of time.
It's definitely good for research. You can just sit quietly and watch stuff, and just like people do things, you're like, hold on,
One of my favorites, we actually, foolishly, when our daughter was in high school, took her and a friend in February. So spring break there kind of goes in cycles. Early February, the New England people go down, and then in March, the southern states, the Alabama kids and the Michigans, and they come. But she and her friend were down on the beach, and they walked back to my mom's house, and they said, will you take us to Miramar Beach, which is in the next county over, but I mean, the line is just a mile from my mom's house. And I'm like, why? And she goes, because the cops came by and told us all the good parties were at the next beach. I was like, well, those are smart police.
That is one way to handle beach control right there.
Exactly.
The parties are over there.
Yeah, really.
This is our beach with the good party. That's very smart.
I know, that really made me laugh. So it's fun to incorporate those kinds of things into your book that you know that actually happened.
Now, I grew up hearing the phrase 3 sheets to the wind, which means you're drunk,
Right.
right? Do people know how clever your title is? Because I don't think it's a common thing that people hear, 3 sheets to the wind.
I don't know. I think it's fairly common. my Kensington editor actually came up with that title, so I have to give him all the credit. And I never thought until you said it about it being the third book. So, I was like, duh.
I did
Oh,
that
yeah,
on
we
purpose.
planned that. And maybe my editor did. It went right over my head.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, I've heard that growing up, of course, in Cape May, lots of bars. Honestly, I think there's probably less now. There's probably more. It's been gentrified a certain amount since I grew up there. But of all the bars, 3 sheets to the wind was a very familiar phrase. So that's so funny.
That is funny. So, Poppy has a very funny cat whose name escapes me right now. I'm sorry.
Sir Figaro Newton.
Yes.
A black smoke Persian with a lot of attitude. A black smoke is the skin is white. The hair starts out white and becomes black tips, so it's always a smoky kind of when they move. You can see it. He's got bright orange eyes, and when little children come in, they scream, and the cat's like, and just flops because he does look like a Halloween cat. He doesn't understand, but I had this cat. Figaro was my cat in real life, and children were terrified of him, and he was always like, "What'd I do? Just sitting here." So yes, he is very, very naughty, and I want to say antique auctions. Isn't that the love triangle? All right, so I'll let you know something because I know that we're not live streaming. I got so much.
Is this a spoiler alert?
I don't think so because people are already commenting on it online. You know, look, spoilers. Once the book is out and the bloggers come out, there's very little I can do.
Yeah.
There are so many spoilers in the blogs. I'm just so grateful people are blogging.
Yes.
I'm just like, whatever. 5 stars, I love it. I love it. Don't change a word. But I got some.
And 1 stars, we assume they think 1 is best.
1 stars means number 1. This book is number 1.
Exactly.
Yes. I got a lot of flack for Poppy being in a love triangle.
Yes.
For 4 books. She was in a love triangle for 4 books. And you would think that it was like she was 82 stringing along guys for like the last 60 years. Well, it was always planned. There was always an arc. And the love triangle, it gets resolved in a way that was always intended. It doesn't quite end the way anybody expected it to. It kind of ends with a bomb going off. But Figaro the cat is in a love triangle. I'm reading so many people complain about the love triangle. I'm like, oh, really? Really? Hold on. I was like, you don't like love triangle? Yes, Figaro is in a love triangle.
I personally love triangles.
I do too.
So
I do too.
And my Sarah Winston garage sale mysteries also have a love triangle.
And I really, really enjoyed. You did such a good job with it. I mean, I love a love triangle, and I love a romance. I love a romance plot, and you do a fabulous job with yours because I find that I do love mysteries. Obviously, I'm writing mysteries. I love mysteries. I think I love mysteries with romance mostly.
Me too.
Yeah, it's almost like I want to be a romance reader, but I don't want to read the dirty stuff. So this is it. This is my jam. So now, do you have a romance in here?
Yes, I do have a romance. In fact, the book opens on the first day with Chloe is Joaquin, the bartender, says, "Come outside, and you got to see this." And she's expecting the worst, a dead body or something, and goes, "No, look up!" And a plane is flying over with a big banner as they fly around.
Yes, they do.
But this one says, "I love you, Chloe Jackson," on it, and she is like, "What?" Because she and her boyfriend Rip, they're in a nice, steady relationship, but they're not any place close to saying love to each other, as far as she's concerned. So it freaks her out, and then she gets a couple more presents during the day, and she can't figure out who would know these are her favorite things. And
Interesting.
yes, later in the day, she is out for a run and happens to stumble on a crime scene, which is involved with somebody from her past.
Of course.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Exactly. So
Fun.
yeah, but
triangle. I'm like, oh, hold on. Figaro has plans for you.
Well, you know, and my love triangle in the garage sale mysteries, it would have been different. I thought I was writing 3 books, and so the way I ended the 3rd book seemed the most sensible in the moment. And then after you send it in and it's too late,
Right.
you find out you're going to be writing more of them. And so I would have done it differently. I would have ended the 3rd book differently if I had known I was going to write more of them. So.
I understand. I had a 5-book series planned, and I knew the love triangle. The love triangle is not gratuitous in my book. It has to do with Poppy refacing her past.
Right.
Made the wrong decision in the past. Here it is. It's come around again. She's now 25 years older, and darn it, the same thing isn't happening. So for her, it was a big, do you follow your heart or do what other people want you to do? And so it was a big, big deal in her life to have to go through it again. It wasn't just, oh, I don't love triangle because people hate them. But, you know, there's also like people who hate love triangles tend to hate them because there are certainly series out there that go on for like 30 books. And I mean, look, I'm not writing that book, but God bless her and her and her and her. That's what they want to do. I'm not going to criticize the writer.
Right. It is fiction, you know. So.
I mean, you know, I've got a woman who bakes gluten-free cupcakes solving crimes, but that's where you want to draw the line that she has 2 men who like her. But
We're not bitter at all.
but she definitely, I forgot what I was saying now. It was not love triangle. It was going to be brilliant. It was going to be
Sorry, I
fabulous.
interrupted
That's okay. It'll come back to me.
you. In the middle of the night, you'll go, oh,
That was it.
oh,
So
that's
tell
great.
me more about Chloe. I want to know all about this beach bar. Did she end up down there for some nefarious reason, or did she really just live there?
No, she lived in Chicago, and she was a children's librarian. And in the first book, she's made this promise to her best friend, and she told him he was going to Afghanistan. He was in the National Guard. He said, if anything happens to me, will you go help my grandmother with her bar? And she said, sure, you know, they had a few drinks. She doesn't think anything's going to happen to him. But sadly, it does. People still write me and ask me if he's coming back. And he's not. So that's
Well, maybe
how
they're hoping it's a twist,
yes, it would be a big
like a soap opera.
Yeah.
Like on a soap opera, you can come back 3 different times for 3 different faces.
So that's how she goes down. She thinks she's gonna find this frail little old lady that's gonna welcome her with open arms, and instead she finds Vivi, a strong Southern woman that doesn't need anybody's help. So she has to lie her way into staying and helping out in the bar.
Interesting.
I was trying to do kind of a different setup from getting called home to help with the family business.
Yes.
And so, but when I was originally writing it, it was coming out very sad. The beginning of it, I was like, everybody's sad. This guy is just dying, you know.
Yeah.
And so I reworked it a little bit so that Chloe knew, you know, in her heart when he went missing that he was dead. And so she'd already done her grieving.
Yeah,
So.
it's the realities of war.
Right.
It's the terrible, terrible thing, but people have to move on eventually.
Right.
And that's interesting because now you have her with Vivi. And Vivi
Yes.
was his relative.
Yes, his grandmother. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then it gets more, keeps getting more complicated. Vivi's accused of murder. And Chloe's always planning to go back to Chicago. But then she can't leave until she knows that Vivi's okay. And
Right.
so, you know how that goes.
I do. Poppy is never getting out of Cape May. She is stuck.
Does she want to stay at this point?
I think she wanted to stay. You know, she met and fell in love, and you know, she's got, like I said, the 2 men, and so now there's a new love in her life, and you know, she's moved on. Only there's enough chaos to want to go just about anywhere else. Anywhere but here. And she's kind of stuck. But at the same time, I think her relationship with Aunt Ginny has so blossomed. Even though I think I read somebody said that she sounds mean to Aunt Ginny. But believe me, if you had the real Aunt Ginny in your house, you'd be frustrated a lot too. Because that woman, you cannot control anything that comes out of her mouth or what she does. She'll sign Poppy up for skydiving, and Poppy, I don't want to go skydiving. So I mean, it's definitely a fun. The one thing that nobody has commented on yet, and maybe they don't see it, but I see it. Poppy is Aunt Ginny. She's just Aunt Ginny, like 40 years younger, and they're the same person. So it's like she's growing into Aunt Ginny, and Aunt Ginny is like, I've been where you are, and I know what you're going through, and they are such a team. There's such a love there and a bond there that, when you're a kid and growing up, you don't appreciate your mom or your grandmother quite the same. Maybe some people do. I didn't. But then when you get older, you can have perspective.
Right.
And suddenly they are brilliant. And they really did have the answers. And Aunt Ginny's an inspiration for Poppy. And she's an inspiration for me. I wrote Aunt Ginny and her best friends, the Biddies, because they inspire me that that's how I want my life to be. I don't want to be someone who retires and it's all about soap operas and Friday we go to get our hair done.
And bingo.
And bingo's important, yes.
Don't I remember that you based Aunt Ginny on somebody you know?
Yeah, Aunt Ginny is my grandmother. Yep, Figaro is my cat. Aunt Ginny is my grandmother. Itty Bitty Smitty the Handyman is my father. They have all passed away, but I keep them alive through the series.
Yeah.
There's also some people in the series based on friends in high school. They know who they are, and they know who they don't know, because they'll be like, "Who's this?" Well, I don't know who that is. I'm like, "Well, yeah, I made that. I do make stuff up." It's made up. The book I just wrote has one of my best friends from high school is the new chambermaid. So that's fun because he is a character. So that'll be fun when that comes out. Because in Cape May, there's a J1 visa where people come from Ukraine, but they come from like Eastern Europe and Serbia, and there's like 3,000 people live in Cape May, and there's 30,000 a day tourists.
Right.
So there's no way you can handle all that. So they bring people over from Eastern Europe on visas.
They do that in Florida too.
So how is it different? How is it different in Florida, especially where your book is like located? Do they bring people like, hey, maybe they bring people en masse?
Yeah, and they've had problems. Actually, I think originally the third book was going to be about some Eastern European women that were, being housed, in cramped quarters and made to work long hours and all that sort of thing. And I kind of completely forgot about that was in the proposal.
You do like to start with some dark thoughts, don't you? I mean, I've got like a 3-ring circus unfolding in my books, and you're like, how can I make this very sad? But you're gonna love it when they get to the fun stuff.
It is. I try to balance the darker stuff with some funny scenes, and I really had fun in this third book, writing some scenes that made me laugh. So hopefully they'll make other people laugh.
I'm sure. And while I'm woefully behind in my reading, I have read the Garage Sale books, and you have such a great sense of humor.
Oh,
Both the humor and the romance, they are definitely winners, and there's no reason this is not a fabulous winner also. It's just a new place and some fun twists, so I am very much looking forward to them. And of course, I got the 3 sheets to the wind reference, so right there, that's clever. I don't know how that's very clever.
Thank you, Gary Goldstein. Does anybody have any questions for us?
I always have. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
So, do you ever put people that you don't like in your books and murder them? Like kind of just a little bit of masking of them, but you know who they are.
There was a lot more in my first book. You know, my first book has a lot of my life growing up
Mhm.
and people that I knew who were then fictionalized, because nobody is, you know, who you paint them to be in a book. I mean, my father really was a terrible handyman, so that is totally true. But other than that, a lot of even the people who are real people are very fictionalized. But honestly, as my series has grown, except for the addition of my high school best friend in the 8th book, a lot has changed. It's all fiction now. You know, I started out with what I knew and I fictionalized it, but now it is a life of its own. I've got 8 books and nobody is recognizable anymore. You know, everything has been changed so much. How about you?
I haven't. So I did kill off a former coworker in a book that's never been published and probably never will be. So.
But it felt really good to write, didn't it?
I did change the name.
But she knows who she is. Or he knows who he is.
You can send him a copy later.
But since then, I've pretty much just made all the people I kill up because I'm really superstitious. And I'm so afraid if I actually killed somebody that something terrible would happen and then I feel terrible. So, because of course it would be my fault, you know. So, in fact, I have a really hard time naming the person that's going to get murdered because I don't want it to be any name of anyone I know. So, they tend to get these odd names. So now you can probably read my book and go, who has an odd name? Oh, they're going to die.
It's Ichabod.
You know, a couple of my characters are their actual names. My grandmother's name was Ginny.
No, I use real names too.
Just don't kill them.
Yeah.
That's it.
So,
Use the real people, don't kill them. That's the lesson for today. Don't kill the real people.
exactly. One of the characters in this series is named Anne Williams. And my friend that I've known since 9th grade is Carol Ann Williams. And so I couldn't use Carol because of Chloe, because you're not supposed to use the same initials if you can avoid it. So I've used lots of combinations of names of friends. And if I can't think of a name, I'll go to Facebook and I'll open it up. And the first 2 posts, I'll do some combination of those 2 names. So.
I do that a lot. I started deep diving through Facebook until I put together a name. Who are they friends with? And who are they friends with? Who are they friends with? Done. Got my character. Although I did try to name the social worker Rosalind Carter, and somebody's like, the president's wife? I'm like, who? Jimmy Carter's wife? Really? So, I had to change that.
Yeah. I agree. So.
Any other questions? Yes.
You first.
Okay. Have you ever gotten to a twist in a book and realized that you kind of had written yourself out of it and you actually wanted it to be a completely different twist?
Ooh, that's a really good
That's
question.
a good question.
Hmm.
I think it was the 5th book in the Garage Sale Mysteries. No, it was a 6th one.
She's doing it right now.
I wrote the whole book, and I have a friend that edits them before I turn them in. And she said, oh, I knew right away so-and-so did it. And I was like, darn it. So I wanted to change it. And then I realized the past 3 books had been setting up this other person. And so it worked really well. And it was much harder to figure out. So that was a good, weird twist.
I had
How about
somebody,
you with twists?
I had somebody come up to me and say, I figured out who I know the killer is because of this. And they got the right person, but it was totally wrong reason. I'm like, what? That's not what it said. It said this. Oh, but it was the killer. Should I change something? Because I mean, their reason was totally wrong. I know that in one book, I wrote myself to a point that I thought something isn't working. Something just feels like it's not working. And I had to move a chapter. I had a chapter too early and I had to move it too late. because you know you have like a penny drop that comes. That's the moment that the protagonist is like, oh my god, I know who did it. And preferably before they're standing with a gun in their face, oh, I know who did it. Well, yeah, now. I realized that I made it too obvious. Then there was like, did like 2 chapters that sort of lagged because now we know we're gonna catch them, and yet you're doing something else. Nobody cares about this right now. Go get the killer. So I did have to move something much later. So I think that was less of a twist that was wrong and more of one of my side plots tried to take over at the wrong time. So I had to shift things. I knew it was wrong. I could feel it was wrong. I kept asking people, is this wrong? And they kept saying, no, it's fine. And I was like, yeah, I can't do it. And then my agent said, I think this is wrong. I was like, yes, that's what I thought. I don't know why I needed somebody to convince me, but I did.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, you each have a cast of characters, repeat characters that are the support to your heroines. Is it hard to keep track of their characteristics? Did you fully form them and then they plop here and you know everything about them? Or do you have to remember, okay, she's left-handed, she likes gluten, she has blue hair, whatever it might be.
That's a really good
How
question.
do you handle that?
I do it the hardest way possible. I've created one document that's called All the Words. And it's every book I've written. Once the publisher accepts it, I copy it and paste it on the end. And then when I need to know what color somebody's eyes are, or where did they work, or where did they live, I Google it. I just Google I search within my document, which is now almost 1 million words, and it takes a long time. I did find out during the art phase that I had said Sawyer in one book, probably the first book, that Sawyer walked to work. And then by the 3rd book, Sawyer lived in North Wildwood, which would be about an 8-hour walk. And so I panicked and I told my editor, I said, can I change that? And he's like, yeah, change it in the final edit. Which means that anybody who has an art of that book has Sawyer walking to work 8 hours. But everybody who bought the full copy, she now lives a block away. So, but that's what I do. I will look for certain keys to find out, you know, what did I name? So I had a problem with one of my biddies too, because my biddies were based on real people, and I kept wanting to call Mrs. Dodson Ethel, and her name is Edith. But then I can't remember. And then I'm like, but wait, is it Ethel though? And I psych myself out. The ones that are the easiest for me are based on real people, because I know who Itty Bitty Smitty is always, and I know Aunt Jenny is always. So the ones I think that are the most real to me, whether I've made them up or they're based on real people, I always know what they look like. But like I had to do a whole thing for Beauty Expos where I could go back and see everything have I ever said about this character's family, because I was just willy-nilly giving them brothers and sisters, and then I'm like, okay, well, like how many do we have at this point? Because I probably should know that. So I had to like put them in order, give them a pecking order.
For the garage sale mysteries, I never did like a book Bible. So I just go back and search through the manuscripts and, but for these books, I have a virtual assistant and she reads them and does a spreadsheet, what kind of car they drive, because I can remember that Rip has a Mercedes, but I can never remember what color it is. And I have more book and movie references in these books because Chloe loves to read and she loves to watch movies. And so I keep a list of, she keeps a list of those for me so I don't repeat those things too.
I need that.
It's really nice.
I also tend to try to repeat jokes. I'll write something like my breath felt like a sausage casing, and I'll be like,
Sausage
that
casing.
feels like I made sausage. Yep, there it is. Great. I gotta think something else.
Yeah.
I can't stand repeating myself. And have you ever read a series? Could be something very old. It could be something from somebody who wrote 200 years ago, but they wrote a series and they never intended for you to binge read. Boom, 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 boom. And it's almost like they may have copy and pasted from one book to the next. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
So you did read my book.
no! Like, I have to remind you of what the character looks like, and yet they're in the exact same description. So I'm like, this is a good lesson. People binge read once things are out, and I need to make sure that I can leave all of my reminders in a way that even if you binge read the whole series, you're not repeating anything.
Right. I don't like to binge read. I like to savor, and so I'll read one book, and then I'll go, oh my gosh, there's only 8 more to go. So we've been reading McCarran's Slough House books, and they're so good. And I just finished one over the weekend, and I was like, so want to just pick up the next one and read it, but I'm making myself read other books.
I am a total binger. I don't mind being a binger, but when people are like, I finished your book, I'm like, it's been out 12 hours. When is the next one? You're going to kill me. They're going to kill me.
It's such a compliment.
It is a compliment.
It is such a compliment.
It is. Well, and it's a hard answer now because my next book comes out in a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, it's paced for Halloween.
Oh.
So I think I've caused a couple of aneurysms when I've told people that. I'm done. When's the next one? August 2023.
Wow. Did you want to write a Halloween book?
Yes. So I don't like to be repetitive, like I said. That's funny. So I waited because like this is the second October that Poppy's been in Cape May, but I didn't do it the first time around. I specifically waited so I could sort of build some things first. And so then I've got Halloween, and then Christmas is next. Although that's one with fingers crossed because it's not actually contracted. Look, it's gonna be written, whether or not it's being published. It's gonna be written. So yes. Do you have holiday books?
I don't.
No.
I actually wanted the 3rd book with the stalker to be a Valentine's book.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's
romantic.
It comes from reading people like McCarran. I can't help myself. But so I wrote my editor and said, "Oh, can we make this a Valentine's book?" I hate Valentine's Day. I'm like, okay. So
I would have been like, yes, let's do it. That sounds great. No,
I know.
a
So,
stalker actually makes a lot of sense for Valentine's Day.
it does.
It does. That would work.
So, yeah.
Well, maybe with this series, you can have a Valentine's Day stalker. To be
Yeah.
festive, extra festive. Extra stalkery just for festive. Yes. So are you gonna do holiday themes with this one?
I haven't so far. The next book, which is called Rum and Choke, which my editor came up with. It is set, like I said, around spring break, and so and it has. I really had fun with this part of the book. It's the bar. Oh gosh, I can't think of it. But it's the bar assistant's obstacle course race. And Chloe is expected to bring back the win to the sea glass.
That's fun. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I always have a hard time saying writing this book was fun because it's so much work.
Yes.
But part of it is fun. And,
Yes.
and it's really fun when that magic happens and stuff just pours out of you.
Have you ever made up anything that doesn't exist, but now that you've made it up, you're like, why doesn't that exist? That sounds like a lot of fun.
Just a couple drinks.
Yeah?
But
Like maybe you've made up drinks, like they'll be on a menu somewhere.
yeah, this book has one called Peach Bum Fizz. And so I intended to make up the drink and have it in there before the book came out, but that has not happened. So
Put that on your bookmark.
I'm going to make the drink up and I'll put it on my website. And
That sounds fabulous.
doesn't it?
Yes.
I think it sounds good too. So
Somebody asked me to do a post in they had a blog and it was pairing a cocktail with your book.
ooh, fun.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I can totally do that. I thought they might make up a cocktail. No, I did all this work. I bought stuff. I kind of put one together, and then I find out here's everybody else old fashioned. I'm like, wait a minute. I know that's a thing. I thought I had to make it up.
Did you make one up?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Because I thought that was the point. But yes, now the drink I made up, the martini glass is rimmed in cotton candy pop rocks. And that tells you a lot about my series right there. I was like, what says Libby? I know. lawn of Congress Hall. And the more I made it up, the more I was like, why isn't this a thing? Like, somebody
Right.
needs to do this for charity. People donate stuff, hide it in the eggs. I'm like, that is actually a really good idea. I mean, there's probably a million reasons why it's not a good idea. But right now, from this chair, that sounds like a fabulous idea.
I made up events.
Yes.
I thought maybe you meant did I make up some kind of thing?
Oh, well, I mean,
No,
you make up,
events,
yes.
I've made up lots. The longest yard sale is the second Sarah Winston is the biggest yard sale in New England, and so I made that up.
That sounds
Making up
cool.
events is fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
that sounds very cool.
Yeah, but I like the egg thing too. Let's do that.
I mean, why hasn't somebody done that already? It really does sound like a good idea.
I think so too.
I'll think about what else I've made up. I also, because Kate May is real, there's a lot that I don't make up. Like, what do they do? I didn't write about the Sherlock Holmes weekend, but I've mentioned it. But that's real, so I don't have to make that up. But I have to see what else I can make up.
I made up a fictional town for this. It's close to the real town of Destin, and she goes into Destin, and I had a very near miss because there's a place in Destin called the Crab Trap, and I got the arcs, and somebody wrote me in and said, "Did you know you wrote the Crab Trap?" It's a real business, and I was like, oh my gosh! And I wrote my editor, and I wrote the proofreader, because the arts are out, and you really can't change too much at that point. And thank God Kensington's editor caught it and fixed it. So,
I would have done something like that.
oh my gosh, that was so. So
Usually
now
you
I
can
do a
tell.
word search for crap.
Yes. I can't tell how many times I've written Poppy's name as Poopy. Now, were there any other questions? I remember a couple other hands.
I
Yes.
had one for the both of you. It could either be from this book or it can be from any one of the series. Is there a favorite scene that just like you remember writing it? It was either something that tickled you or just was super clever. What would be your favorite scene from one of your books?
I'm not going to say who's in this scene, but Chloe is waiting for her boyfriend to come over for dinner, and somebody else shows up, and honestly, I was laughing as I was typing. So anyway,
I have something in every book that makes me just die, that probably I'm the only one that is going to find it that funny. Like, somebody once asked me what was my favorite line in class reunions, and I told them, I don't control the owls. And they were like, all right. But it was so heckin' hilarious to me because she's got this psychic who's like, thinks that she caused something wrong and she's chasing her down, and an owl comes and flies right into the middle of the P of the psychic sign and like kind of knocks itself silly. And the psychic is sure that's brought bad juju, and she's like, I don't control the owls, come on. I love to hear it. I also love to write my scenes to music. Like, I'll have a song that'll, just as I'm writing, will come up, and I will write that scene to that song.
really?
And in Antique Auctions, I think it's Antique Auctions, I got this scene. Again, I might be the only person that finds this hilarious, but the biddies are poning Poppy left and right over something that they want her to steal. I don't want to tell you too much too soon, but they trick her into stealing it. And as she starts to run, she knows she's going to get caught. And in her head, she hears Highway to Hell by AC/DC. The entire scene is plotted to Highway to Hell, where she is like running through the yard and jumping over stuff and ducking down stuff, and she gets caught in the alley by somebody like who's also doing something they should be doing. They're like, and finally they're like, I will say nothing if you say nothing, and then they pass her. I found it hilarious. I mean, I sat in my office listening to that song, giggling for hours, and so for me, that's one of my favorite songs.
So do you write listening to music, or after the song pops into your head, you listen to it?
The only time I've ever written listening to music, like just writing, just, is when I'm in a cafe. Because when it's very loud, because no matter if you've ever had to work in like a coffee shop or something, like you're traveling and you've got to work, hotel coffee is terrible. So I will go to a coffee shop to work. There's always some guy in there in a business meeting. He might be on the phone. It doesn't matter. He's still talking and like Libby kind of talks all the time because it's super too loud. But it's like you're trying to write. He's talking about putting in a swimming pool and you're thinking, oh my God. So I will put on music because it's the controlled chaos that I can ignore. Because I know the music. I don't want to know about the pool. I can I can tune
See, I
out.
want to listen to that guy.
You want to listen to that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's how
like.
I got the opening for the very first Sarah Winston book was something I overheard in the airport.
And what was that?
This guy is pacing back and forth, just walking by me back and forth, and he goes, I went to the gun range and I called Dave and I shot a round off and then I hung up. And he's so freaked out. I was like, wow.
I would have listened to that guy. That I would have been like.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, maybe I can use that someday.
That's
So I
very,
did.
yes, that is interesting.
I know.
The
Very-
swimming pool guy was not bad. Do not put them on the same
We
level.
need some more chlorine.
He's like trying to like sell stuff and I'm like,
Okay.
but still, I'm gonna start paying better attention. Because you definitely picked on something clever there.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I was like, this guy's sick. We're not on my flight.
And I do remember reading that in your book when that happened. That was a very, very clever way to start.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really like that. But I expect nothing less from you than cleverness.
Say it back at you. If I need a laugh, I know to read one of your books. So. And I often need them. So.
These days are very hard. You need a lot of laughs. That's what I get from my readers more than anything else is how funny they are. There's things. The whole theme of my series was supposed to be the paleo diet. Nobody cared. Some people complained about, God, why should you talking about it? Because that was the theme. It's like supposed to be the paleo series.
I remember you saying that once before. I was like, really?
That's why I pitched it. I'm like, nobody's writing a paleo diet cozy. That'll be me. And they're like, what? Nobody. Why does she keep talking diet stuff? My God, just stop it. So I've kind of like tried to like skirt around it. I mean, it's still gluten free because I have to be gluten free. But still, yes, all they care about is it's funny. So, and my editor did say, do you want to write anything else? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not this. I can't write 2 series at once. I don't know how she
You
does
could do
it.
it.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed. And they said, do you think it would be funny? And I said, I don't think it couldn't be. I really don't. If you were like, can you write something serious? I'd be like, no. It's not an effort I make. It's just happening this way. So now, how many books do you think you've planned for Chloe? What do you think's next after?
So Rum and Choke comes out in January, and then I don't know. We'll see.
Do you have thoughts, plans afoot?
Oh, I always have plans afoot. So-
People you're eavesdropping on in the airport.
And any place else I could
You
go.
like, yes. Walmart. You need a murderer. You go to Walmart. You just listen. Go to like the gun and motor oil aisle. Hang out. Get like 3 motives before lunch. Fun.
Have you ever, so one time I was in Massachusetts with Barbara Ross for lunch, and I said, I have to find somebody to kill the DA. And I didn't realize I'd said it quite as loudly, but like every table around us was like, and screaming away. Have you ever done that?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I know that my search history is shocking. Like, if my husband dies mysteriously, I'm in big trouble. Because they have enough evidence to put me away for like 10 different crimes. Because I'm not just asking how to kill somebody. I'm like, how much poison? How much of this are we talking? Well, what if they weigh 180 pounds? How much will it take? So I know that I'm in trouble there.
See, I try to keep those things in conversations. Like, you go to a conference and you find out which cement seals in
Mhm.
the smells of the decaying body as
Yes.
opposed to lets it out.
I mean, we are the only people interested in stuff like that. Murder mystery writers, the stuff that we want to know about, we're like, but like at 12 hours of decay, what does the skin look like? Nowhere else do you hear those conversations.
Even though we're not going to use that probably in our books because they're
Cozy.
Yeah.
But you want it to be right.
Exactly.
You want everything you say to be right. You don't want anybody to be disappointed. And
Which
Come back.
Mark probably has some stuff on us about now because we asked him questions.
Yes. so one of these days, I'm going to do something wrong. I'm going to ask him like it's for a book. That should be like a series, like a writer who's planning murder, but they just come up with these crazy scenarios for books, so eventually they can kill somebody.
The very first police officer I asked a question of was a sorority sister's husband, and like he vetted me before he would answer. Even though his wife said I was okay, he didn't believe her. So
I worked with 3 poison experts to make one murder weapon. They didn't ask me anything here. I was like, how can I kill somebody with this? Like, let me tell you. They didn't ask me anything. In fact, I felt like I was ready to tell them, and then I'm writing a book. They're like, but. Here's how you kill somebody. So I was like, okay.
Bob always says that if he disappears, he tells his coworkers. So if I disappear, just have a drink and say, well done, because you're never going to find me.
I just was going to share one story. I remember, and Sherry, you probably were here for this, but the Sisters in Crime were meeting in here, and you were having someone come in to talk about crime scene cleanup or murder cleanup. People who come and clean up rooms, and the person who was talking also brought some photos that they were showing, up on it was a white wall or something. And it happened, that used to be the children's section. And it was a Saturday afternoon, and somebody did come in with their children and immediately looked up and saw just something horrific and walked right out. It's like, here are these super nice people, but...
We had a Sisters in Crime meeting where we had an FBI profiler who was one of the original FBI profilers, and he was I don't know the correct term for it, it's escaping, but he worked on Mindhunter, to tell them, here's how to do it right, because here's what we actually did. And then he brought out all the pictures of serial killer stuff, and I was like, all right, cozies, let's go with this, not cozy. There was some of the most horrifying stuff in those pictures, and I was like, oh, no. I mean, I shoved a pom-pom in somebody's mouth. That was as dirty as mine got. But most of these Sisters in Crime were like, ooh. So I was like, nope.
I was at Crime Bake one year, and there was a death investigator speaking, and she was really fascinating, but it was over lunch, and she brought pictures. And I'm going, I just had to look away, and I was going, don't throw up, or don't pass out. So.
Being fascinated with it to get it right is very different than show me the pictures. Show me the pictures takes you to a whole nother level.
And she's helped me too with, different things about murder scenes.
Mhm.
So, anyway.
Yes. Well, I worked with a police officer who will go unnamed just in case I get anything wrong. And I was like, what does blood look like under a black light? And I mean, these are the weird things that anybody else would be like, we're not going to be friends anymore.
I always worry that people that know me will read my book and become afraid of me.
The first thing I did in class reunions, in the first chapter, in the backstory, was I killed off my husband. Let me tell you something, my husband's family was very concerned. They were like, why would you do that? And I was like, she's going to be a widow. They're like, but why?
She's not me.
He's fine. A lot of conversation.
Still here 7 books later.
Yes. You're concerned for
But if
sure.
I ever die, you know who did it.
Yeah.
And so does your family.
Yes. Well, I find that murder mystery writers are some of the nicest people. And I think it's because we get it all out on the pages of a book.
Yes, I agree.
Mhm.
I agree.
I think that's the perfect, wrap up here.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh,
for
no,
having
yeah, well, I
us.
know we have lots of books for you to sign from people who
Okay.
ordered things online
All right.
but I could listen to you guys all night.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
I had more questions I was gonna ask. I'm like, okay. We're like, we always want to monopolize the questions.
Well, you can ask us what we sign books. We don't care.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations to Sherry for her lunch. Yay! Exciting.
You too. I'm up late.
That's okay.
Are you signing here?
Sure.
Do you need pens or
I do.
Sharpies? Okay. You want Sharpies or like a?
Anything's fine. I have shoes on. That was